I'm going to hit the button. Let's do it. Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. We got Babo Juan, Sir Mix-a-Lot, who looks like he's about to pass out and fall asleep, Matthew, and I am Breezy, and we are here to review two games we have not talked about. The kind of like polar opposites of emotions, Matthew. Vibe check, how we feeling?
We are 25% through the regular season in our first season in MLS Next Pro, and we're on top of the Eastern Conference. I feel good.
I echo that. If you would have told me, and I'm curious how you feel about this, Matthew, if you would have told me before the season that we would lose to Atlanta on the road and that would feel bad, but we would be at top of the Eastern Conference or tied for the top of the Eastern Conference, because I guess somebody has a game in hand that could pass us. So I'm just going to say, if you told me we'd be second in the Eastern Conference after 7 games, I would have signed in blood.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this I think it's not just being at the top of the Eastern Conference right now, and second in current points per game. It's not like just that. It's how this has happened, right?
Take me through that.
So, if you think about it, if you think back to March 16, opening day versus Huntsville. You've got your backup striker in Carlos Rivas, who does not have his ITC clearance yet, so not available. You've got Mehdi Wolmeri,
I was gonna say you're getting closer, but I don't know if you are, because I can't say it either.
Our French Algerian striker who does have his visa, but has trained 2 days, right? You've got Jude Arthur, who's not even in the country yet.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
the club record signing.
Yeah, right.
And second ever transfer fee paid.
You've got Callum Watson.
What we think. I don't know if they've said that out loud, but that's what I read between the lines. Is second ever transfer. They say club record signing, and we knew Callum was the first foreign transfer, got to be the second transfer fee ever paid.
You've got Callum Watson, the English player that transferred from Halifax. He had only got his visa earlier in March, and passed his medical and had like a week of training. Duvan Villafara had just started training, I think, that week. Mm-hmm. And maybe just like for a couple of days. He doesn't even start that match. Fareed had just gotten his visa a few weeks prior, but
he was out from a red card from the end of the season before.
Correct. You have all these things happen. And at the same time, let's not forget, Jesus had done his hamstring a little bit against Birmingham 2 weeks prior. He was on the bench, but not really available. Jalen James, who was kind of the revelation of preseason with several goals,
was out with a concussion.
Had scored a goal in the season ticket holders game in preseason. Got a concussion on the same play. He was also coming back from that and was available, kind of, sort of, but not really, and did not feature at all. You have all these things happen. You're starting Ethan Corrin at striker. You're starting...
That's goal scoring striker Ethan Corrin, you son of a bitch.
Damn right. You've got, Milo, who has played left back, right back, basically just anywhere they can find him.
Right wing.
Started at right wing against Huntsville. You have a lot of things going on here. And over time that has been sorted. I think this last week especially is now everyone's in. Like Jude Arthur's here. He played 3 games in a row. Basically, the only player that we're still kind of waiting on is Minjae Kwok, who was expected to play on the weekend against Carolina Core and was injured in training. And
saw him in a boot.
And we're not necessarily sure yet what the prognosis on that is going to be. It could be a short amount of time. It could be a longer amount of time. We don't know. But like overall, Jesse Williams was away on international duty and missed the Open Cup game and missed the FC Cincinnati game. Had only just come back and then played in the New York City away game before kind of second preseason. So all these things are going on. And I think we said that on this podcast that it could be a rough start, and the process was more important than results.
Sir, the Rodcess.
The Rodcess. And that is still true looking back. However, we've got 15 points out of 21 possible.
And we've looked like something we've talked about before, and we'll get to these reviews, is like we knew the second preseason was going to be impactful.
Yeah.
And we look like a different team after that. We were like some of the principles are the same, but we've changed how our fullbacks are playing. We've really, like, I would say, upped the intensity. We've started changing kind of how we're getting shots and the volume of shots we're getting. Like second preseason, we finally got everybody in. You just mentioned all the absences at different times. Like very clearly that second preseason was fucking massive.
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial.
And we're still not who we're going to be.
Not even close. And I'll caution, again, through 7 games, we have played 3 games with like a normal, typical week's rest, or a week's period in between games. We've played 4 games in the league on short rest. More of our games in this first 25% of the season have been on short rest than have not been on short rest. And that includes like the season opener going into that column. That includes the Inter Miami game, the first game after second preseason, into that column. I mean, it's the opener against Huntsville, it's Inter Miami, and then it's Huntsville, which was just a week after Inter Miami. Those are the only games we have played on a normal period of rest. Which is, all this to say, we are in a fantastic position for, I think, where you and I expected us to start out. In terms of points, we are about in the place I thought we would be in terms of the Rodcess and learning the principles and integrating players. And at times we've been fortunate. At times we've been really good, and we've had to rely on both Jean and John to keep us in games, to sometimes win us games, and that's what you pay goalkeepers to do. So. That position can be a real difference maker. I can't stress enough how good it is to be in this position, how good it feels to be in this position, especially knowing that we've got such a long way to go, especially in a league where I think teams and individual players will improve at a far greater rate that we've ever seen before.
Yeah, any league we've played in. Matthew, with that said, let's crack these bad boys.
We got to start drinking and talk about the Atlanta game?
Yes. Also, I have a little toast for you.
Okay. What's up?
Choose a couple days off and for you, and being out of real job season and back to pretend job season. The imaginary job season. Cheers, baby.
The Tennessee General Assembly adjourned on I guess it was Friday was it Thursday? It was Thursday night of last week, in between the Atlanta and the Carolina core games, and I am on a personal note relieved to be done. It was the hardest session I have ever had in terms of the volume of issues to lobby, the intensity of some of those issues. Obviously, politics and Tennessee politics is a wild thing in general. So it feels really good to be done.
Yeah, I'll say
it feels really good to be done.
Thing.
And I don't like fully not have a real job the rest of the year, but if you think about like how pro soccer games are played at a certain intensity, and then like preseason games are played at a different intensity, it's a lot like that.
Bringing it back.
It's a lot like that. The intensity of my job goes down a considerable amount, and the cadence. Like, I mean, you think about it. This is going to be my first week not traveling since before Christmas, and that wears on you. So,
I'm glad to have you back, baby. I can see it in your face. You're already lighter. I can see it in your face and hear it in your voice. With that said, welcome back, Matthew. Let's talk about the lineup against Atlanta too, Kennesaw United, because that was I think the big starting point that every fan that looked at that lineup went, oh shit, because Rod rotated.
Rod did rotate.
And that's
You questioned me.
Yeah, I questioned you a lot because let's be clear, in 2+ seasons, Rod has rotated for form many times and repeatedly and regularly for how somebody plays in practice, how somebody played in games, etc. Rod has also rotated, obviously, for injury, for massive fatigue when somebody just can't handle it. But Rod has never just rotated because he's like, well, we got 3 close games here, so we're gonna rotate because we think gives us a better chance to win. Like, that's weird. That's new. It also shows the depth of the roster that Rod and his coaching staff and by extension Davis and Avia put together this year.
Rod and nice staff. Yeah.
Rod and nice. Oh, that's good. Rod and nice staff have put together. Like the team that CFC has put together for the first year in MLS Next Pro, for our first year rather, is deeper than maybe any team we've ever had. Except for maybe 2017.
It's deeper in terms of, like, you know, if you think about the quality of the team has obviously gone up, right?
Yes.
This is a tougher league than NISA. Like, the quality has gone up on our team.
By the way, this is a tasty vintage, almost 2 years old.
I thought there was something interesting about it. It tasted like a lake beer.
That little it is a lake beer.
So, like, the quality has gone up in order to match the league that we moved into, right? But also, to your point, this is the deepest team that we've ever had, because we can go, and spoiler alert, like, we are willing to go down, 20 or so spots. Whereas we rarely played more than 14, 15 guys in NISA.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, 18 to 20 spots.
Yeah.
I understood 8 to 20 spots. And I was like, 20. We had more than 7 guys.
If you think about it, and I can pull the statistical numbers on the minutes analysis for league matches the last 2 years in NISA, you had there were not many. Once you got past like your initial starting 11, and then like a few more.
3 guys, give or take, usually.
3 or 4. That would be like have like a meaningful sample size. Nobody else had a meaningful sample, to the point where, like, if they did something like really cool, like a goal and assist, like you're talking about 400 minutes, like, okay, that's not really helpful at all. And, this is the year. It's early, right? So the sample size in terms of minutes is not yet where it needs to be. But, like, we've played 4 center backs already.
Mm-hmm.
We've played 2 2 left backs already. We've played 1 right back in the league, a second one in the Open Cup.
We've played 2 right backs. Milo's a right back.
Already included. He's already included. Work with me here. You've got multiple. Let's just go through the league stuff here. You've got, Ethan Corrin's got 3 appearances in the league already.
2 at striker, 1 at winger.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Whoever had that on your CFC bingo card, cash that shit in.
You've got 5. You've got the other 5 midfielders. If you're thinking of Ethan as like kind of that 6th midfielder, you've got the other 5 midfielders have all played at least 5 games in the league, with the exception of Jude, who's played the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
Minjay obviously hasn't played yet. Carlos has played 6 games. Medi's played 7 games. Your wingers have had some injury issues, but Jesus and Jalen have both played 6 games. Taylor's played 7 games. We haven't seen Damian in the league yet.
We did see him quite a bit in the preseason.
Which
I expect that we'll start seeing him at some point.
But my point is, even if I take out Logan Brown at 1 game, I'm going to use Ethan Corrin in this, so like 3 games is now our standard.
And don't forget, Logan Brown might have only started 1 game and might have only made the bench on like 2 games, but he started every single preseason game and the Open Cup.
Yeah.
So it's not like he hasn't played this season. He played a bunch of minutes. I realize the preseason doesn't like fully count or whatever else.
And you're still waiting on Duvan and whatever else.
But it still counts though. Like, it matters.
So look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're skipping goalkeepers. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 players. We're skipping goalkeepers. 3 games or more in the league already. And Gene's got 2 in the league. Burke's got the other 5. So you got 2 goalkeepers and heavily involved right there anyway. That's that's a big,
and another goalkeeper that made the bench.
That's a big that's a big change. That's actually a massive change.
Also, 4 subs in the Atlanta United game, 5 subs in the Carolina Core game.
Well, and you had 5 against Inter Miami as well. You had 4 subs against Huntsville on the road.
By the way, have you seen the numbers for?
You had 4 subs at New York City. You had 5 subs against Cincinnati, and you had 3 subs against Huntsville in the opener.
And Huntsville was the game we were absolutely thinnest at.
Yes,
you might extrapolate out. You could throw that one out. There's also some really, and I'll be interested. Something I want to ask Coach Rod and Coach Chris, and then we'll talk about this Atlanta 2 lineup. Now that we've talked about why it's interesting, there's been some data coming out and some articles coming out about, and I saw this anecdotally because Fiorentina was like, when the 5 subs happened, like Vincenzo Italiano was a really aggressive subber. And he used like 5 subs immediately when 3 subs went to 5. And I know that the data that's coming out is showing that like the teams that make more subs, not only earlier, but use 5 subs instead of 3 or 4. And I don't remember quite the delineation, but like there's a difference. And like you're seeing more wins and more points and more whatever. And I wonder, because we are pretty data informed, I'll call us, maybe not data driven, but data informed. I wonder if we're looking at that and making a decision this year, not only because we're deeper, which we are, and not only maybe do we choose to build a deeper team, but also we're choosing to use those subs.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd be curious about.
And we'll see how the season progresses, right? Because in previous seasons under Rod Underwood, we started out with more, not rotation, but more just difference in players. Like this guy's informed, that guy's informed, et cetera, et cetera. And then as the season has gone on, guys have really nailed on their spots, and the subbing has become, much less. In fact, I would be interested to look back at last season. Like I bet we averaged like 2.5 subs a game is my guess last season. Total guess. But like we had, 1 or 2.
2.5 over the course of the season?
2.5 per game is my guess.
I'll take the over.
But like my point being is like I think we're at a higher clip than that. I'll be interested to see if we stay at a higher clip. Okay, let's go to the Atlanta 2 lineup. Jonathan Burke in goal. Jean had started last game, or Jean had started last game. John in goal. This one at right back, Jesse Williams. Right center back, Anatoly Prepelica. Left center back, Farid. So you saw Farid come in for Duvon there. Duvon played a hell of a game against Huntsville, and I would imagine he was completely gassed. Milo at left back. Jude Arthur for his second game in a row at central defensive midfielder. Alex McGrath, Luis Garcia Sosa coming in for Andres, and Andres would come in at halftime for Luis. Right wing Jalen James, Joseph Perez would come in the 71st minute.
That was because of an injury.
After we had an injury there, Milo would go to right wing. Thank goodness Jalen did, spoiler alert, debut or re-debut come into the next game rather. He didn't start, but he did come in, and so that tells me he's okay, which is good because I was worried that was a serious hamstring injury. Left wing Taylor Gray, as is I think one of the starters in mostly Penn, mostly not fully, but that there's also an argument against that here later. But you and I were talking before the podcast. I think Taylor's been really good this season overall, and kind of taking that little half step. He hasn't taken a full step forward yet, but a little half step. And then Jesus coming in the 66th minute, and then Carlos Rivas started at striker. So if I'm remembering correctly, when we did the math, there's 6 changes from the game before.
Yeah.
Which I would have...
because you've got Gene was a change. You've got... I should just pull this up here.
So Farid and Gene.
Gene was a change. Jesse Williams was a change.
Farid
was a change. Luis for Andres was a change. Taylor was a change, and Carlos Rivas was a change.
And that's not even counting that I think Milo started at right back and JP. So we're like, there's another player in there. It's one less spot. So yeah, 6 changes, big change. And you had Joseph Perez again came in the 71st for Jalen James, Jesus in the 66th, and then Carlos Rivas, Medi came in at halftime. So Medi and Andres came in at halftime. So let's talk through the game, Matthew. If you want, I can give you my whole like summation of that game.
Sure. But let's start with the thing that we sometimes forget to do. Spoiler alert, the game finished 1-0 to Kennesaw on a penalty earned in the roughly 19th, 20th minute.
Very bad luck.
Just bad luck. Like Freed's arms out. It's a penalty. It's
a very normal defensive play.
It's probably a danger, even if they don't call a penalty there. It's probably a real dangerous moment because there were a couple Atlanta attackers hanging around the box in that moment. But yeah, so let's just walk me through your thoughts, and then we'll get to some of mine.
So there was a really big losing formula in this game. So first of all, and there's one big piece of this, and there's several like small contributing things that I think contribute. Number one, it's on grass. We don't practice on grass in general. We don't play on grass in general, and we have been, I would argue, poor on grass on the whole since becoming a professional team. I think because we have been we've been playing and practicing primarily on turf. So it was on grass. It was on a short rest, which Rod Underwood teams have struggled on short rest in general. And it actually goes back to seeing some of our games that we've won and gotten points out of on short rest is even better overall. And I know we rotated, and that was good, but it wasn't all the same players. And I think you saw the first half and second half were very different, in part because we made some switches, and rotation didn't help us in that game. It was a road game. We are better at home. That home field advantage is real. I think you see it this year. I think you've seen it in the past off and on. Like sometimes maybe there's been a little too much pressure, arguably, or guys of whatever. But I think this year we've been really good at home. And that's the 4 like kind of small pieces: grass, short rest, rotation, road game. And then the big piece. We came in with Atlanta like in the bottom half, not the bottom half, the bottom 3. I think they were second to last or last. I think Carolina Core was last. And I think we came in with the wrong mentality. I think we came in, we looked at them, and this is me totally putting myself in the player's shoes. So I don't know for sure what happened, but we lacked intensity and we lacked a mentality. And I think you saw that difference in the first half and the second half. We were pretty solid in the second half, and we were pretty poor in the first half, kind of second to every ball. And I think it's pretty easy to happen, right? It's short rest. You're going away, and you're going against a team that hasn't picked up many points, and you're like, it's not going to be that bad. And something that we'll get to in my takeaways is anybody in this league can beat you on any night. There's a lot of parity, and there's a lot of young talent. And if you don't come in with the right mentality, you can get beat. And I think the entire team, save for like 2 or 3 players, I'm not going to go player by player because that's not what we do in this podcast, but like save for 2 or 3 players in that first half, like we were just off the pace overall. And I think everyone would like a mulligan and a redo. And obviously we didn't end up reviewing this game after because of schedules, and reviewing the Carolina Core to skip forward just a little bit. We had the exact opposite, right? We came in with the same mentality that we had, I feel like, in previous games. That Huntsville game and the Carolina Core game were played at a certain mentality and a certain like intensity level. And that Atlanta game was just under that. And so that's what I think of the biggest piece of it is. But if you put grass plus short rest plus rotation plus road game plus wrong mentality, that's a losing formula. Yeah,
I think.
And we still could have come out of that with a draw with just a little more luck. But anyway.
So first half against Atlanta, keys going into that game that we knew Atlanta liked to keep possession, that it hadn't translated for them to results yet, but we knew that they could. They could. I mean, like when you keep 63% of the ball in this league, like you can keep the ball.
Didn't keep 63 against us.
And it becomes a challenge when you have some good players that just haven't put it all together yet, or the team hasn't put it all together. And this is a normal thing with these two teams. Like you can have an unbelievable set of players that just haven't put it together yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where Atlanta's going to finish in the table. If they're going to make the playoffs, they historically don't. But they've got some good players. They've got some guys that were regulars in Next Pro that did very, very well in Next Pro that are on first team deals that are still contributing.
One of their starting center backs went 90 the following week for the first team. I was checking out that when I was brushing up on the highlights this morning, 'cause I hadn't watched them. I was there for the game, which, by the way, fuck you, Kennesaw. First of all, there was more employees working the Kennesaw game, like people working in the stadium than there were Atlanta fans. Number two, you didn't allow drums, you didn't allow flags, you didn't respond to emails. You guys fucking suck. Like it's just, you're an embarrassment to the league. You're everything that's wrong with two teams. Like this Kennesaw Atlanta 2 bullshit is exactly what is wrong with this league and has to change. Like I don't love for American soccer the minor league baseballization of things, but like this can't be the league we play in where this is the kind of like team that we play against. On the field, like they're pretty solid, unlike most years. Like they're okay, but it's an unbelievable joke of an organization, and Atlanta United should be ashamed.
Yeah, sure. So back to the match. We knew what they wanted to do. We knew that they were going to try to keep possession. They tried to do that against everybody. They also they play like it's classic Next Pro, which is they want the ball, they want to win the ball back, and they want to like just continue to attack, continue to be relentless. It doesn't matter if they're up by a goal or if they're down by 5 goals, like they're coming after you because every rep is important, right? So we knew that. And I think that may be the biggest adjustment that we have had to go through is that like, it doesn't matter if you're up 4 goals, like you got to be ready to play it every single possession. It's harder to kill hope against some of these teams because the hope that you can kill is not necessarily that game and that day. It's kill their dream of making MLS.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think you saw how you can kill hope in the Miami game where we got under their skin and we did hit them when they were down and we took away some of that hope because they played better when they like felt like they were still in the game. But I think across the league, and this is going to be a pretty hot take, but I've watched a lot of these 90 and 15s. I watched like 6 of them yesterday while putting together cabinets. And I think you see even by how players celebrate. Like, sure, there are players who celebrate a goal like it is, the World Cup final, right? There are guys who are fucking up for it, and that's great. But there's also guys who score, and it's almost like it's a scrimmage.
It's like it's preseason scrimmage.
Now, I'm not saying across the league that they don't want to win. But I do think there's a little bit of this, which is what you're saying. Like, there's a little bit of this, like, we're going to play. They have a trust the process thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
Not for every team, but in general across the league. There's a prediction I made that I feel I was pretty fucking wrong about to begin the season where I said I thought there's going to be like a third of the league that's going to be terrible, a third of the league that's going to be good, and a third of the league that's going to be like real good or whatever. And I think that's wrong. Because like number one, there's just more parity across the league than I thought. There is a stratification. Like there are a top third that are good. Like there's a top third that separates from the other 2/3, without a doubt. But that bottom 2/3, even the teams that are bad. Look, Houston just finally got their first points in the Western Conference the other day. Mm-hmm. If you watch Houston, they have some electrifying players. They have some really good young attacking talent, and it wouldn't surprise me if they hang 5 on somebody and win. Like, and you look at like there are some of these teams that have. I mean, like the Red Bulls lost the other day. Sure, they were dominant in parts of that game, but the Red Bulls lost to Columbus. Columbus looked hopeless the first 4 games. Like there is just so much attacking talent in this league and so much young talent that's really inconsistent that even the lower end teams have some real talent there, especially on the attacking side. And our biggest key and our biggest advantage is that we are a little older and a little more experienced. And that's going to be our difference maker. And I think as time goes on, what's going to be interesting to see is how much do they stratify, how much do they change, but there aren't going to be any off nights. At least so far of teams that I've seen, sure, we might throttle somebody 5-0.
Probably
right?
will.
It might happen, but it's much more difficult to beat somebody 5-0 than I would have anticipated. That's the first piece. And it's much more difficult to like hold a clean sheet essentially. Because any of these teams can go score a goal any night. And that, it's just it's a little bit different of a league than I thought it would be.
I think a lot of people, especially if you aren't kind of in the league, you look at it from the almost like the USL perspective, which is like, these fucking two teams with their children, like whatever. And to some extent, that is true. Like the results for the league were not good in the Open Cup, us chief among them, maybe most chiefly among them. But if you look at the league,
by the way, that's
as a whole,
you can draw some pretty big parallels between the Atlanta game and the Miami United game. If I'd rather not think about it, but it's the same formula in both the games we lost.
But if you look at the league as a whole, because so much of the league, 27 out of the 29 teams, like the result is not the end all be all, and like the process matters, the Rodcess matters for us, like a very large amount. But at the end of the day, we're judged on results here, and
we are judged first on results.
First on results,
and honestly, at the end of the day, not the first 7 games, not even the first 14 games, but games 14 through 28, only the results matter, right? These teams, the results also matter. They matter on some level, but the results are either equal to, or it depends on who you are.
28 games of results matter, but not necessarily a one-off game where your opponent goes out there and puts 25 guys behind the ball.
I disagree. I think
not for the two teams in this league.
I think for 80% of the teams in this league, results are equal to or secondary to the process, which is to make players ready for the first team. Look, Huntsville's going to want to win, right? Like, I know they are a 2 team, Nashville 2, but like they're going to want to win because they have a market with some players. They don't have a good academy. Sure, they want to play some of their whatevers, but like they do care about winning because they've chosen to operate in a little bit differently than some of these teams. They're not calling up a ton of players all the time. Similar to Columbus in past years, I haven't paid attention to how they're doing it this year, but in the past, they have played with those same 23 players where, yes, the process definitely matters, but they care a lot about results. But there's a bunch of these teams that are taking guys up and down a lot. And even if they're just on the bench for the first team, their whole purpose of that 2 team for I more than half the league for sure is to create players for the first team and to provide minutes for some of those players so that they're ready to contribute in that first team. And look, I don't love that we're there, but that is the reality, so I'm going to leave that to the side. It does change how they approach games, which goes back to yours. Like, they are going to continue to try to get those reps. They're going to continue to try to pass out of the back. They are not going to bunker unless you force them to bunker.
Yeah.
Now, we did force Miami to bunker at times, right? We drove them back in portions of that game. And we've driven a couple other teams back in portions of the game where we've like crushed them with possession.
Yeah.
But it's not that nobody has set up thus far in the league. It'll be interesting, except for Huntsville. Huntsville's the first team to set up in a truly like mid block against us and try to result us.
I would argue
their
Atlanta
MLS.
as well.
Interesting. We can go back to that. And MLS, at least Huntsville's MLS team, Nashville 2 does that. Like Nashville 2 and Nashville 1 now play the same since they fired Budget Harry Kane.
So going back to the Atlanta game, what was interesting about Atlanta against us is that they tried to follow the Huntsville formula, in that they were going to have possession and they were going to keep the ball as much as they possibly could. But when we had the ball and we were building out of the back, they tried really hard to keep the lines compressed and to make it as difficult for us as possible. And I thought they did. They got to every incredibly good success on that front.
They were first to every ball. They clearly they clearly had a plan, and it mostly worked, especially in midfield.
So look at these first half stats here.
Oh Jesus!
53% possession for Atlanta, 47% for us. You've got 7 shots.
By the way, felt way worse than that. I would have guessed 60-40, genuinely.
You've got 7 shots for Atlanta, nothing for us. 1 big chance, which it was the penalty they converted. You're looking at 5 shots inside the box. 3 shots were blocked. It is, yeah.
We got dominated. We had 1 danger adjacent chance. We had the cross from Alex. That was in the first half, I'm pretty sure. The cross that's where the Atlanta player cuts it out.
No, second half.
Okay, well then we literally had nothing.
We basically had nothing. I mean, legitimately our best chance in the first half was Taylor got fouled twice in the first minute, and that ball on the free kick went in, or not into the goal, but like into the mixer. Like, yes, that was probably our best chance.
Also, Taylor got fouled about 10 inches outside of the box.
Yeah,
he cooked those 2 dudes to start the game. But Yeah, it was. That's the most comprehensive that anybody has beat us for any 45-minute period
I'll
in
go
a
one
while.
step further here. Atlanta completed 252 passes in that first half. We completed. They completed 216 passes. We completed 197. Of Atlanta's 216 passes, 121 of them were in their own half. 95 of them were in the opposition half, our half. If you look at that number for us, pretty close, within 20, right? 161 in our own half. 36 passes completed in the opposition half for us.
Yeah.
They were accurate with their long balls over 50%. We were down at 31%. We had 19 throw-ins in that first half. And that was not like them misplaying passes out of bounds.
We had 19 total throw-ins.
We had 19 throw-ins in the first half.
Jeez.
That is like us playing passes or us getting tackled or whatever, and the ball going out of play.
No, they were first to every ball. You could see the heavy legs, and you could see again, I'm not trying to call the players out, but like the lack of intensity, or whatever you want to call it. Atlanta was fucking ready, and for whatever reason, we weren't as ready as we normally are. And it changes in the second half, right?
Yeah, it changes massively in the second half. If you look at the 68% possession for us in the second half compared to 32 for Atlanta.
Yeah, we turned it on. I mean, some of that's game state related, right? They got a goal, but as we talked about earlier, for the most part, these teams don't care about game state. No, that's not they don't care. Sorry, they care less than the average team. So like they still care, right? They still wanted to win, and
it's game plan, not necessarily game state.
Yes, well, I don't want to overstate and say that like all of these teams are just naively passing out of the like they will still clear it, they will still do things, right?
Yeah.
But the result is not always the only thing that matters. Now in this game, I would argue that Atlanta pushed, especially towards the end, really, really, really hard for that result. They were clearing it out of bounds. They were doing whatever because like they haven't picked up a lot of points, right? They were clearly trying to win.
Yeah.
So I just want to say there's nuance to the like these teams care less about the result than other leagues.
I'll point out something interesting about that game as well. Atlanta's average age in that game. If you think about Next Pro, they're easy
all 12.
and it's lazy to be like, oh, these teams have an average age of 18 or whatever. Yeah, they're talented kids, whatever. And like sometimes you get
they don't though.
Sometimes you get 3 16-year-olds in the starting lineup in New York City. Now one of them is already on a first team contract. He's
so
being
good.
talked about as like a potential like American Messi type, and that's lazy because he's left-footed. But like you've got some incredibly talented 16-year-olds.
Oh yeah, stop the Messi comparisons, guys.
But for Atlanta, their average age was 23.
Yeah,
and that's helped by a 31-year-old goalkeeper who was
a 27-year-old striker who's in his first year out of college.
Yeah.
Hello, NAIA.
I love that so much. But like, yes, it's helped a little bit, but it's hard to get to 23 with just 2 players over age. Like they had a lot of guys that were 23, 24.
They
and like Atlanta playing guys that were 21 and 20, not necessarily 16 and 17.
So our average age is 24 and change.
Yeah, I think that night it was 25.
Okay. Let's say our average age, even more so, but our average age is 24 or so. Their average age being 23 is much, much different than a lot of the teams we've played. This is also very different from the prior Atlanta United. If Atlanta United plays that roster, that starting lineup, they're going to win a lot more games than they have in the past. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making excuses for us because we weren't good enough and we need to be better. And I think on another day, we will beat them. We will do what we did in the second half, but we'll create more actual chances. But yeah.
It just goes to show that it doesn't matter. And this goes for the Huntsvilles of the world. It goes for the Atlanta United 2s of the world. It goes for the Carolina Cores of the world. Spoiler alert, your bottom 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. It's partially like how they play. It's partially how you play. And it's partially just the game of soccer and the way this league works. Anyone can take points off anyone on any given day.
Also, Carolina Core are dog shit. But let's keep going. What else do you have left on your wrap up here?
For Atlanta, I'm done.
You done? Cool.
I guess my last point is that was our first loss in Next Pro. I didn't love it.
I didn't like it either.
I'm also not mad now that I'm thinking about it. Like I'm not terribly mad to get it out of the way.
Yeah. So if you want the glass is full, not just half full, the glass is full approach, you'd rather lose now, right? Remember that monkey on our back towards the end of the season, last season, like staying undefeated, et cetera, et cetera. Like this was fine. Like not fine, but like it's nice. I'd rather learn that lesson now.
Teams are going to lose in this league. Like no one is that much better than everyone else.
The Red Bulls looked like fucking world beaters. I've watched essentially all their games, And then, by the way, I have watched all of LAFC 2 games. I love them. I don't love them, but I love
Ventura
watching
County
them.
to you.
No, LAFC 2.
Oh, they're not. Yeah,
They're fun.
They're decent.
They're fucking fun. But mostly because Luis Mueller is just really fun.
Yeah, who's been getting first team action?
I know, and playing and starting in the second. He's going to be, once he leaves, they'll be a lot less good. Also, Ventura County are not that good. They have some. They keep, as a team, they're better than some of these teams. But I've watched a lot of their games. They're gonna give up some points later on. They are a little bit like us, where maybe they've got a few more points than you would have predicted. I don't remember where I was going with this.
I guess my general point is I watch a lot of MLS now.
Well, I don't watch any of that. Only MLS Next Pro for me.
I mean, I watch a lot of MLS Next Pro now for sure, but like I find myself if there's a game on, and it's hard because all the games are on Saturdays, right? But like I got home Saturday at 12:15, something like that. The only game that was left was LA, I think, hosting Portland. Last like 15 minutes plus stoppage time. I 100% turned that on. That's why I saw Luis Mueller.
Gross.
Anyway, let's move on to the Carolina Core.
That's his. I believe
game
it's
on
his,
Saturday.
I believe it's his second appearance, by the way. Okay, so this game finishes 2-0. This is the exact response I wanted to see. So we just played the bottom 3 teams in the East, 3 games in a row: Huntsville, Atlanta, and Carolina. And to be fair to those 3 teams, number one, I think all 3 of those teams are better than Cincinnati. Dead serious. I think all 3 of those teams are better than Cincinnati.
Woo, that's a hot take, my friend.
I've watched a lot of Cincinnati, a good bit of Cincinnati, rather.
That is, this is going to be fun. That is 5th place in the Eastern Conference, FC Cincinnati 2 to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the
who has more points now than Miami and Columbus.
That's the Dayton Dutch Flyers. The Dayton Dutch Flyers to you.
It's Dutch Lions, thank you.
Dutch Flyers is funnier because they're Red Wagons.
And because the University of Dayton's nickname is the Flyers.
I mean, I might have stole some of that too, but
Logan Brown's going to come bursting through the door here.
Logan Brown's a good man. By the way,
I went to Dayton and said, no, he's not.
Oh, hey, how dare you? So in this game, we make 5 subs. It finishes 2-0. The lineup changes again pretty drastically from Atlanta. So we kind of go back to what I would think is similar to what our regular lineup we're going to see is John Antoine. That's your first change in goal. Jesse Williams, who comes out in the 52nd with an injury. I was told it was precautionary. Told by him at the bar afterwards it was precautionary. So thank goodness he appears to be okay. This was, by the way, I thought this was a bounce back game for everybody. We just looked totally different here at home. Joseph Perez again in the 52nd came in for Jesse Williams. Anatoly Prepelica, who is, by the way, my player of the season thus far. First 25% of the season done. Anatoly has been our best player, and it's not been close. He has been just unbelievable. Overall, offensively, defensively, everything. And God, I'm going to miss him when he leaves next year. Because I can't imagine he doesn't get either a big move to a USL Championship team or, I don't know, that's kind of where I see him going based on his age profile. I think he's going to be a big-time USL Championship starter, but I hope we re-sign him.
I could see, not to tangent too far, I could see someone in MLS picking him up.
I could too.
For like a kind of an end of the roster, need a bigger profile center back.
Oh, I think...
Especially if they're the kind of team that isn't going to... It's different because, like, Anatoly is reasonably athletic for his size. I don't know if he's like MLS athletic for his size, if that makes sense. But if I'm a team like a Nashville that usually like a little bit more of a mid block, wants to play out of the back a little bit, but like won't do it at the expense of other things. I could see someone like that, like putting him on the end of the bench to have a little bit bigger of a size profile in a center back as an option.
I'll go one step further. Anatoly last year, the Anatoly of last year, who was very good, is not an MLS player.
This one might be.
Anatoly of this year...
I'm not saying he's going to start. Like,
Anatoly of this
games.
year could be playing in MLS right now. I'm not saying he starts on every team or whatever else, but he could be absolutely be on just about any roster, and he could be starting or subbing for most teams in MLS. He's been that good this year. And I hope it continues. And I hope for his sake, he does go to MLS. I just think because of the international spots and all of how all that dumb shit works, he'll just end up in USL Championship. I hope he ends up with us, right? I hope we re-sign him. But I think that's going to be tough because we got him because it was late in the process, and he was working through some stuff, and he was getting his, legal status and all that stuff figured out. And so we took a chance on him early. We got him, and I think that's the reason he's here. But like, this is the season where he's showing why. I mean, he should move up the ladder. So anyway, sorry for the tangent there. Duvon back at left center back. Milo back at left back. Milo went to right back after Joseph Perez came in, after JP came in the 52nd minute. Jude Arthur played 90 minutes, but Fareed did come in the 90th minute at the 6, which I miss every time. I don't know what's going on in the 90s, but...
Well, it was just, we made 3 changes for the stoppage time for like the 5 minutes or whatever it was.
I'm just telling you, I missed him there, and I missed, he came in one other game at some point, and I missed him as well. I think it was maybe Huntsville. Did he come at the end of Huntsville? Yeah, I missed that too. Just because I guess in the 90th I'm running around. Andres started, and we started in a 4-2-3-1, which I think we should talk about here in a moment, with 2 6s, essentially. Callum Watson, which is the most surprising thing of all time, not because Callum's not good, but because Alex McGrath has, I think you told me after the game, 14 total minutes in the Open Cup, playoffs, or regular season that he has not played under Rod Underwood. 14 fucking minutes. And he didn't start this game. Callum Watson started and got an assist. Alice McGrath, again, 64th minute, he came in and really changed the game, I would argue, after he came in. We needed those fresh legs. Very nice to have depth. Fucking very nice to have depth. Taylor Gray played at right wing. Jalen James came in the 90th minute. Again, really good to see him back after he left with injury in the prior game. Jesus Ibarra started and went 90 at left wing, and Medi started and went 90, but did get subbed out in the 90th minute for Carlos Rivas. Who came in for stoppage time. Jesus Ibarra scored via Callum Watson assist and an Andres MLS/hockey assist. And Milo...
Which he didn't get credit for. I'm mad at you, MLS Next Pro.
And Milo... that's dumb. Something we got to talk about at some point. Milo Garvanyan had a goal, which is up there for goal of the season. If Jesus hadn't hit the wildest Travella, this would be the goal of the season so far. What an unbelievable wonder goal via Taylor Gray. Just so fucking good. All right, Matthew, take me through the formation, which we have changed, at least for this game, from our classic 4-3-3 that we've always seen Rod Underwood play with, except for occasional in-game transitions to other formations. So
if you think about CFC these last 2 years plus the first part of this season, it's, every single game, back for a 6, kind of 2 8/10s, 2 wingers, and a 9. Something interesting is going on right now where, at times, think back to 2022, right? The midfield is Richard Dixon, Alex McGrath, and Ian Serro.
It's a long time ago.
I know. At times...
Hey, shout out Ian Serro, playing for Georgia
FC. At times, that team would be, especially like defensively, like a little bit later in games, McGrath might drop in a little bit next to Richard, and Ian Serro would be the lone 10. But overall, like and Alex likes to be a little bit higher sometimes, be a little bit lower sometimes. That's a feature of how we play football here. I think what we're seeing, and this was reflected in the lineup graphic that Apple put out ahead of the Carolina core game. Jude Arthur and Andres Jimenez Aranzazu were actually listed next to each other
in a 4-2-3-1. Which, by the way,
to take those three midfielders into 2 6s and 1 10.
One thing they've done a really good job with these Apple and MLS Next Pro broadcasts is having accurate lineup graphics, not just in formation, which they haven't been perfect. Like, we've seen some other teams that have been slightly wrong, but ours have been close. I've heard reference on the broadcast, like when we spoke with Rod Underwood this week, or when we spoke with XYZ coach this week. So they're clearly doing some intel as professionals, and for the most part, getting it right. And I appreciate that. There's a lot of things I don't like about MLS Next Pro. There's a lot of things they can do better, but this is a thing they are absolutely crushing. Yeah. And it's one of those things that Nisa fucking never got right. Yep. Like, they had the ability to run like a professionally run thing hasn't existed in a long time. And it's just wonderfully refreshing that the end of every game, there's going to be a 90 and 15, and it's going to come out like genuinely like 15 minutes after the game.
Not quite that much, but
It's pretty fucking close, dude. It's so fast. Like it's gonna have lineup graphics. They're gonna be either correct or pretty fucking close. And they're gonna have professionally done like setups it's equal across the league. If you watch a 90 and 15 with Houston, I just mentioned Houston and KC, like you're gonna see the similar setup. And I want to give a little flowers there. I'm really happy. And in just reviewing for this podcast, you and I were really, really worried about not having full game replays. And I still want them because there's a lot of context you miss in a 90 and 15.
Yeah.
But at least the 90 and 15s come out every game on time. And they exist in a platform that's easy to get to. So I'm just glad that those things are correct and continue to be done correct. Also, sweet. I think it's actually probably us based on where the footage is shot from. But very sweet promo video that came out like sights. It was like Sights and Sounds, but something quite a little different. Not the same Sights and Sounds that they've been doing for other teams. There was a little promo first independent whatever matchup that came out this morning. It was like a minute and a half or 2 minute clip, and it's all like mostly sideline shots or some different angles of some goals. It's fucking rules.
So the lineup graphics for us up until this weekend were a flat 3. So whoever was playing the 6 was in the middle, and then the 2 10s were on either side. But it was just done flat.
Mm-hmm.
This was a change, and like the 2 wingers and the 9 would be kind of in a flat 3,
Mm-hmm.
but on their correct sides, and the 9 in the middle. This was different. This was 2 6s lined up next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The left winger, the 10, and the right winger lined up next to each other, and Medi up top. Which is, I'm going to guess, like, that's just how they do a 4-3-3 and then a 4-2-3-1.
Yes.
And if we want to delineate how we were doing it more accurately before, it would be a 4-1-4-1.
Yes.
But, like, these are all...
But also a
These are all
4-1-4-1
basically
and a
the same friggin'
4-3-3
things.
are the same thing.
Like, they're just the same things.
I mean, like there are 4-1-4-1s that are different than 4-3-3s, but in general, a 4-1-4-1 and a 4-3-3 are the same.
But like, so for us, I think the interesting thing and why we're taking a minute to point this out is, I think between the Atlanta game and maybe this also included the Huntsville game. It's a little harder for me because I was there in person and was head on with the field and didn't have more of a tactical view of the field. But it looked like to me that Andres and Jude were really kind of playing a double pivot, where Jude would stay and sit in possession, and Andres would have a little bit more license to be a little closer to the top of the box. And you see that, and obviously like there's ebb and flow there, right? But on the first goal of the game, Jesus' goal, it's just Carolina building from the back, us a little bit of a press on, nothing crazy, and a pass is overhit, and Jude is able to get there first and cut it out.
Duvon.
It's Jude.
It's Duvon.
It's Jude.
It's Duvon. Go ahead. I'll pull it up.
I'm not going to be wrong about this.
Go ahead. Keep telling the story.
And that ball immediately goes to Andres, a little higher up. He just takes like a little dribble, nothing crazy.
Timeout as I'm pulling this up. The highlights on CFC's page, the shorter highlights, which we publish every game, are 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Oh, shit, it's 4:25. Fuck, I thought they were 4:23. Damn, I got really excited.
Roasted.
I
And
boom roasted myself.
And, Andres just takes a little dribble forward, just kind of surveys the scene. And Andres is really good at a square ball. And this isn't completely square. It's a little bit forward towards Callum. But just kind of seeing the field and knowing where that ball needs to go, he just drops it off to the left a little bit in front of him to Callum. And Callum does this really great thing where he also kind of surveys the scene. There's like 3 guys in front of him. He's not taking that shot, but he just drops it.
Perfect.
He just drops it. He leads Jesus right to the ball. And Jesus has only one option there, and that is to hit it first time. And the goalkeeper's frozen in place because Jesus could go near post with that. So he's got to maintain. And Jesus' shot just is low. It's hard. It eludes the defender trying to block it. And the goalkeeper's got to wait and see where it goes and dives and gets a hand on it, but just not nearly enough. And that thing squirts into the back of the net. And we're 1-0 at 7 minutes.
It's very good. It's also nice to score one in transition.
I do love that. I really love that. Like, we've gotten a couple of these now, but like we're just starting to see like that quick strike. When we have numbers forward already in the press, it's very nice to see that turnover drop and immediately get the ball out.
Hey, buddy. It says the play right before it. Sorry, listeners. I know this is terrible, but I can't have Matthew trying to prove me wrong on the podcast.
Oh, that is Duvon.
Jude's up and pressuring, and he is one of the reasons they make such a quick pass and try to make it through. It's one of the reasons there's a bad pass.
Oh,
That's Duvon stepping.
you know
By
why?
the way, this was a feature. Duvon steps a bunch of times in this game.
You know why I missed that?
Because he was central.
Not only because he was central. Go back and look at the replay and pause it when Duvon gets to that ball.
By the way, Jude had an interception on like the play before, which you also might have been.
Yes, I 100% conflated those two, but
because he
pause it right on the moment.
This is Jude running in on the play before that he passed because he intercepted it here and passed it to Callum. Sorry, listeners. Here we go. Right.
So pause it
right there.
So where is my vantage point over in 109? So number one, play before is a Jude cutout.
You didn't watch the 19 and 15? The 90 and 15?
I actually haven't now. But for this one, I think like Jude kind of screens me a little bit. Not like full on. Like the angle's fine. I can still see Duvon there, but I saw Jude like more prominently in that one than Duvon, and that's got to be what it is. That's fun. Okay, fine. Hand up. I was wrong.
How dare you? But it's that spine doing the thing. It's the reading of the thing, the reading of the game. And again, Duvon did that a bunch of times this game. Something I wanted to talk about, like pretty clearly to me. I don't know if this is how it worked out personnel wise or if this was the plan, but Tolley sat back a little more. He still definitely stepped plenty, but he sat back a little more, and Duvon just attempted to get in front of every pass.
I would have thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I would have thought that Duvon being a little bit more like mobily athletic than Tolley, I would have thought that like Tolley would have been the step to defender, and Duvon would have been more of like the covering type defender. And it's actually the opposite.
But
like,
I think it's
Duvon's more of the aggressive step to win the ball.
His first step's quicker.
And Tolley is the one that like is looking for like the stuff he needs to clean up in.
Correct.
And last clearances and stuff like that. So I was gonna pull this up here. Duvon had 3 interceptions. What is that?
I don't know. Is there a car parked outside?
No, just me.
No. It's a ghost. The dogs have seen a ghost.
So
I think it does. I get what you're saying. I think it works out because Duvon's got a much quicker first step. Tolley's going to be well positioned and going to win that header and be much more difficult to get around. It also works that in transition you might see Tolley step and try to win a ball in transition where Duvon has the recovering speed that in a straight line that Tolley doesn't have.
So Duvon, 1 clearance, which was headed, 3 interceptions, 1 recovery. Tolley was 1 clearance. It was headed. I don't think any interceptions listed here. That seems odd. But it's what it's showing me right now. So like, it's an interesting dynamic. That's an interesting pairing. And spoiler alert, there's a mailbag question about that. So let's not go too deep into it.
Cool. So we talked about the 4-3-3 compared to the 4-2-3-1. You mentioned, and I agree with this, the possession game in the first half was very, very good. This first half was as good as our first half last game was bad. We came out on fire and honestly probably should have finished the half 4-0.
We left some chances to be begging in that first half. If you think about it, you've got, yes, we scored the goal. That was good. Callum has the header right before the goal on a kind of similar like win the ball higher up the field type situation.
Medi gets 3 chances
You've got
5
Taylor's
minutes.
a great little ball cross in for Medi on his head
Just
inside the 6
slightly behind him.
that he just can't quite direct down. You've got Jude Arthur on the corner who puts the ball into the post and out. You've got, I feel like there's one other one I'm forgetting, but you've got some really big chances there.
You've got Medi on the shot that he shoots just over the bar. You've also got Medi on what could have been a tap-in that gets cut out by a really good sliding tackle again.
Oh, and by the way, you've got Medi one-on-one with the goalkeeper from like 30 yards out.
Where he's got 2 guys kind of like hitting him in the shoulders.
And he had been running for like sprinting for 50 yards already.
Yeah, he does that. So on live time, I was like, damn it, he like should have done things differently. On rewatch, he does exactly what he's supposed to do. He just doesn't get as good contact.
He's trying to lift that ball over the top and just doesn't quite
and the
get the
ball's
correct
bouncing, right? So like he does the exact right thing. It just doesn't, it's not quite the right execution.
So first half, 68% possession.
Fuck yeah.
And second half, we're at 53. We weren't quite as good in the first 15 or so minutes of the second half. But things got a lot better.
No,
92%.
We had our customary 15 or 20 minutes in the beginning of the second half where the other team gets a little run of possession. It's kind of happened in essentially every other game, and I'm not super worried about it. My hope is that we can kind of play our way out of doing that. But generally speaking, you do not dominate minute 1 to minute 90.
Oh no, especially not in this league. Like there are going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be momentum. It's just all part of it, and you have to be able to play through it. I'll note here, we were at 92% passing accuracy in that first half, at 68% possession. Carolina Core, 32% possession, still 85%. Like it wasn't like they were,
they just couldn't get the ball.
Right. Like we were that good in possession, and I think that speaks a lot to what you said about the intensity and about playing our game and playing it well.
I think especially in that first half, you saw we came out with a point to prove. We weren't as good for whatever reason. We talked about the myriad of reasons we weren't as good in the first half last game. This game, we came out with everything corrected. Like we were on fire, and we honestly should have been up 4-0. At least 3-0. We're probably 4-0. Another thing that you mentioned here that I did want to talk about is the Jean-Antoine save in, I don't remember what minute it is, but that is he reads that so well. He tips it across. It's a shot from essentially the penalty spot almost. Yeah. Like that is an unfucking believable save. This game reminded me of Nice games where Jean-Antoine does nothing all game because we just didn't concede any shots, but he has to make 1 save or 2 saves in the entire game. Yeah. And in this game, he made 2 very, very good saves. 1 in the first half, 1 in the second half. And look, he comes out for a few more balls. In every game, he is even last year, like there would be some crosses he would have to come get. It's one of the reasons we went and got a physically imposing goalkeeper 2 seasons ago. But like you said, this is why you pay Jean-Antoine the money. This is why you pay, John Burke the money, right? You went and got the kind of keeper, and I think I was thinking about this before. Like I'm very comfortable with where we are in the keeper department. Coming into this season, I wondered if we had the ceiling. I wondered quietly if we had the ceiling in the keeper department, because it's like, well, like we didn't see them make a lot of saves last year. They didn't have to. So like it's like how good a shot stopper is, just being really, really blunt here. How good of shot stoppers are they? And I think we've seen in the first 7 games of this plus the Open Cup, like both John Burke and Jean-Antoine are very good shot stoppers. They're both very good in the air, and man, we are just in really, really good hands on that front. Talk to me, Matthew, a little bit about Milo's goal.
This is a real fun one. It comes, if you watch the short highlights, you're going to miss this part. If you watch the 90 and 15, you'll see the fuller sequence. It's a great ball from Jean out to JP. Jean out to JP at the left-hand side. And then JP just takes a bunch of space because the space is there, and that's what he does. And once the defense finally collapses, I think he just crosses halfway or so. Defense finally collapses a little bit, and Alex McGrath has found himself in the middle of the park in some space. Which, from the time he got in, he kept receiving the ball in space and finding the winger in space. He would drive, just doing the thing that Alex does. But he just kept making the right decision: take the space and then get the winger into space. I mean, he must have done it like 8 times or something. It was wonderful.
It was just wonderful. And I'm not saying anybody didn't do it beforehand, but when the game state when he came in is that they were pushing, and he exploited all that space.
So McGrath received the ball, drived, middle of the field. His option is Taylor Gray on the wing. That's where the ball goes. And I think this is actually kind of a fun moment here, because Alex continues his run. Which is also a very Alex thing to do. If you want to talk about how like personnel is policy, if someone like Luis Garcia Sosa makes that pass, receives the ball, takes a few dribbles, then passes it out to Taylor Gray, if you're replacing player for player, Luis probably doesn't make the run, kind of the underlapping run in front of Taylor, right? He's probably going to stay in that space so that he can be an option to cut it back down, maybe to serve a curler into the back post or something like that. Because that's his game, right? McGrath just passes the ball, keeps his run going. He's looking to get in behind. Is there a shot opportunity? Is there a place I can receive the ball and then cut it back? That's what he's looking to do. Well, that creates space. That leaves a bunch of space open, because now the Carolina Corps defensive group, whoever's defending at this moment, their back line and midfielders, are kind of all in a line together. There's nobody. Once Alex like vacates that space, the defender goes with him. There is nobody at the top of the box, and it allows Milo, who's following this play up the entire time from the right back position, to just continue his run, get on his horse a little bit when he needs to, and it is just an option for Taylor. And Taylor surveys the scene, lays the ball for Milo, and Milo just hits it first time with his right foot. And it's just right into the corner. It's a beautiful shot. It's an excellent sequence. And more than that, it's a really good understanding of how to use space and taking what the defense is giving you. And
did you mention it was, I know you said this, but like, can we highlight that it was his right fucking foot?
I mean, what foot is Milo really? Like he's all the feet.
He's 100% left-footed. He makes every pass essentially with his left foot, unless he's absolutely forced into making a pass with his right foot. I'm not saying he can't use his right foot. I'm just saying he uses his left foot, because clearly he could use that cannon of a right foot, because he put it in the side fucking netting. Oh, it was so good.
It was nasty. And like, let's be serious. Like, yes, we were a little wasteful in this game, and it is really nice, especially in this league where you think about this league with a 1-goal lead, you are one moment away from, maybe you get 1 point, maybe your opponent gets 2 points when you're looking at 3 points for a win. You're literally one moment away from essentially having a 4.5 point swing. So getting that second goal is huge.
Massive.
Huge. And really nice moment for Milo, his first professional goal in an official match. He did score against Sunderland last year in a friendly. Fun fact. So yeah, real nice goal for him. That's another assist.
Sunderland's U23s?
No, the real Sunderland.
Huh.
A real nice assist for Taylor as well. He's up to, I think, 3 primary assists and 2 hockey assists this year. Yeah. Fun fact, we can talk about the assist and hockey assist at another podcast, considering we're already at an hour 19.
Well, we're at like an hour 5.
Okay, whatever.
But yes, we don't have time to go into that.
Just because like MLS and MLS Next Pro track assists differently. They include some hockey assists, not all. So I think Taylor's officially at 4 this year. But it's 3 primary and 2 hockey. And yeah, another great performance from him. Let's get into...
Speaking of Taylor, first mailbag question here. That's where you're going, right?
Yeah, I was.
Why does Taylor's jersey say Telleo, and how long has it been like that? So I can tell you how long it's been like that, and that's this season. That is a new thing for this season. My understanding is that that's either his dad's last name or his dad's first name that he uses as it. Is that the same thing you'd understood?
Something to that effect.
And I haven't.
It's for his dad.
You will also notice on his Instagram, which has always been Telleo10 or whatever. As far as I know, it is his Instagram now. I just double checked that to make sure. I'm pretty sure it always has been. So
I think he also referenced it in a social media clip as like it would be his rapper name too.
Oh, nice. I don't know. So I haven't had a chance to speak with him about it. If and when we get him on the podcast again, I will ask him about that. But that is my understanding. It is for sure this year, and I believe it is an ode to his father, who I think it's his father's last name, but it might be his father's first name. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Any fun Star Wars related expectations for Saturday's game from Vic?
Well, I think we should do what all good empires do and quash the rebellion. So beat the shit out of Orlando.
I will say
now that we've joined the Empire.
One prediction that I have is that you're going to hear bunch of really bad Empire jokes from Matthew, who has never seen Star Wars but is convinced the Empire was the good guys.
They were.
I'm just going to say that I don't think for the game I will be wearing any Star Wars costumes, but I will be wearing Star Wars, assuming it arrives from Amazon, pre and potentially post game, a little Star Wars action. So if you see my my sweet Star Wars setup and costume pregame and postgame, let me know.
Nerd.
Say what's up. Matthew, was the Atlanta 2 game, that was Kyle on the first question, it's Kyle again on this question, was the Atlanta 2 game a result of conflicting possession play, or were we just tired / holding back for Carolina? Also, does the scoreline change if we had drums? Fucking great question, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the drums thing, to be honest.
The supporter, the really arrogant supporter in me says, yes, it would have changed if we had drums.
I think...
But no, it wouldn't have.
We were not holding back for Carolina. I will say that unequivocally. We don't hold back. I think sometimes you manage minutes. Sometimes you have to get through the week that presents itself, and you don't necessarily want to play your game against Huntsville, play your game against Atlanta, and just see who's alive for the Saturday game. That's not how this works. So, like, you might be mindful in terms of some minutes accumulation, but you're not, like, holding back. I think the Atlanta game is taking away, like, some of the factors. Like, did we have the right intensity? Did we have the right... were we truly ready to play?
What did I say before that game? Trap game.
And looking at it specifically from only a tactical perspective, which is not a full picture. But if you look at it only tactically... I think the Atlanta game is the result of us not doing our game well enough. In that, we did, especially in that first half, where all the action was, where Atlanta was able to be very dangerous at times, to win the penalty, to convert it, whatever. We were not able to play our game. We were not able to get on the ball enough. We were not able to keep the ball enough. We were not good enough with the ball, to the point that Atlanta was able to get into the ascendancy, not just in the overall kind of way of playing, but because we would turn the ball over. We would get dispossessed. We were able to get downhill on us. They were able to overrun our midfield and get the ball into higher leverage situations where for their better players to make plays. And there was enough of that in the game, even without the penalty, to be completely honest. So that's by the way, that's fully like me 100% rod pilled in how we play. But like, it's the
Hell
truth.
Yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I agree. I would like to take this one, if you don't mind. Would you read the next one?
General thought. I need you to not highlight this. When you do that,
because you can't read it.
Because I can't read it. General thoughts on set pieces. We're like 0 for on the season, which is unusual for us. From Justin Fazara.
I want to take issue with the premise of the question, which is that we are usually good on set pieces. Last year was the first year we were good on set pieces in the Rod Underwood era. It depends how you count set pieces. You and I count them as like recycles and whatever else. So like what I will say about set pieces, there's first of all, we no longer have Marcus, right? So until another player emerges as a great free kick taker, we are not going to score or be as dangerous on free kicks. I mean, Marcus was our offense for a certain period of time there, like by taking set pieces and making something out of them. We just don't have that right now. So that's the first piece. Second of all, I don't think we've had very many dangerous free kicks. and that many corners. Now, I know we had 19 throw-ins in the first half.
Yeah, those are all in the middle of the field.
But they were right. They were not like in super dangerous areas. So my opinion on this is that we have not had as many. And by the way, we have a set piece in that in the Atlanta game rather, that Alex fizzes across the box off of a really nice Milo pass back, really simple, just give and go off of it's like Alex jumps across, touches it, Milo takes it, Alex cuts, he passes it, crosses it across, and he gets cut out. Like, we are still dangerous.
I'll also note that like Jude hit the bar or hit the post in the Carolina Core game.
They're coming.
We had a goal off a corner get called back for a handball in the Huntsville game.
We did. They're coming is my point. I think we haven't had enough reps and enough chances at it. We're also a little less like... So one thing that happened last year is that we absolutely smashed teams into these little bunkers, and teams came out in bunkers. And so we were just constantly in their half, and we would get corner after corner after corner, or we would get long throw after long throw from a dangerous area. We're just not getting that same volume because these teams are, quite frankly, not playing those. They're better, number one, and they're not playing those same like bunkered in. So I think with time, you will see us score more. Based on these first 7 games, I think we will score a lot less percentage this year of our goals from set pieces than we had the last 2 years. And what you and I counted as set pieces, meaning recycles off of short corners, short free kicks, whatever else, because we're just not generating those dangerous opportunities because that's not what those teams are giving us. We are, on the flip side, generating many more chances overall per game. Do you think, Matthew, that Milo is the second Bash brother, by the way, third Bash brother, sir, Tully and Duvon are the first 2 Bash brothers, after throwing that guy 10 yards?
Yes. Yes, obviously. Next question.
By the way, that other guy should have got a red card.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
punching Tully in the head and nobody saw it. Milo does need to keep his cool a little better there, but like the little bit of time has passed. I think you want a guy to stand up for their teammate. You don't want him to risk a red card, but also like he was the only one who saw the punch in the head, and he needs to be a little smarter there because that could have been a red card and put us in a rough spot.
He was smarter because he went for the chest.
No, I know. So he does the thing, but you still let the referee make a decision. The referee still could have given a red card, right? This league is pretty weird with when you kick the ball 3 yards away for time wasting, they will give you a yellow card about 40% of the time, which is up from like 1% of the time regularly. By the way, the Michigan Stars would be in deep shit if they were in this league. Also, bring Michigan Stars to MLS Next Pro. But I do think that we are. We saw a moment there where we need to keep our heads a little bit better, but at the same time, you saw a moment of team unity as well, where you saw guys fighting for each other, and I'm going to choose to take that as what I take away from that, and also I don't want to see Milo lose his head in anymore.
I'm going to note something. I'm going to go back to the set pieces question for a second, real quick. We've given up a penalty and we've given up a direct free kick from the Open Cup game. That's all we've given up. Essentially we're just 0-0 on traditional set pieces. Like a ball getting served into the box, set piece. We're even Steven there.
Fair. Okay, Matthew, I'm going to ask you this question because I don't fully understand it. We seem to have an embarrassment of riches and depth this year. Hell yeah, we do. Think we're calling it injury/accumulation protection or rotational 11s? Oh, actually, I do understand the question now that I read it out loud.
Thanks, Justin, for the question. I think...
Oh, that was Bill on the previous question, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know. I would not call it injury/yellow card accumulation protection or rotational 11s, anything like that. I think it's just simply we are in the league of the future now, like a real professional league. And
I think I'm gonna have a different take on this than you.
This is not NISA anymore. This is not NISA bullshit anymore. There has been increased investment in the team. That's the front office. That's the first team, like in all facets, right? And in doing so, you need to put together a roster that is not just 14 players deep, plus some guys to fill out almost of another set of practice players and some academy players for numbers, right? You need to put together a real team. And that means planning for someone having yellow card accumulation. That means planning for someone having red card suspension or for injuries that come with the season.
And last year we almost got completely fucked on injuries. And luckily, we just had a more talented roster than everyone else, and we made it work.
Like it's not normal to do what kind of to ride our luck the way we did for the first 2 years. And that's a choice that we made to spend a little bit more.
Detroit did it and won the league for 3 years. So
to spend a little bit more of the budget, on like the top end kind of players. Like you still need to do that, but if you can't put together a high level group, I mean, like we're 24 pros this year.
I have a simpler,
maybe 25 pros this year.
I have a simpler, and
this is what you do. The old way is not what you do.
I have a really simple explanation that's even simpler than yours. We have 7 international spots. We were able to get more talent for our money. I'm not saying we're not spending more. Those all can be true. But we went and used visas on some game-changing guys. And you see it, like we just have more talent top to bottom, and a big part of that is having some visas. Because there are some international guys on this roster who are game changers, or potential game changers, rather. And some of them already have been absolute game changers. And we just wouldn't have had access to that in the domestic market necessarily, with the way Rod plays and other things. So like the 7 visas, not 7 visas, the 7 international spots. Some of which like obviously we had in NISA because like some of the qualifications were different. But that's, I think, the biggest difference in going from 18 like call them starter-ish players, 18 quality players to like, or whatever number you want to go with, 15, 16, whatever it was, to 20. That's the biggest difference, is having some extra spots.
It's money. It's money.
And it's able to use that in the international market. I'm willing to bet you if we were in same amount of money, but we only had domestic talent, we'd be significantly worse. Not significant. We'd be a full half step down. Like,
so would everybody else, though. I don't worry about that.
Well, yeah, but we're now in a league that gives us those. So, bets on the first 3 players to miss a match on yellow card accumulation from
Totally.
Justin. Disagree. He never missed one last year. He got 4, or 3 right off the bat, and then did miss a game all season.
He's gonna have. I don't think there are enough.
By the way, you're completely wrong in this. It's Andres. He attempts to murder somebody every single game with a 2-footed tackle. It's amazing. He always gets away with it and only gets a yellow. It's Andres. Andres is number 1.
Toley's literally one yellow card away. So I'm going to say Toley because there's going to be a game. Number 1, there's going to be a game where he has to. That's whether or not he is given a bullshit yellow for allegedly dragging down a player when the ball's 50 yards in the air above him, like at Atlanta, right? He's gonna get another one, and he's gonna have to take one here or there or somewhere. He did very, very well after getting punched to not retaliate and let Milo do it, because that would have been a yellow card accumulation suspension. You're also right. Andres is going to be up there, 100%. Hell, Jude might be 3 yellow cards in 3 games. And honestly,
it's first it's Andres, then it's Alex, because it's Alex. And third, I'm not even putting Tolley in my top 3, even though he's got all the yellows right now. I'm not even putting him in my top 3. I'm putting,
you know what we're gonna do.
Jesse
right
Williams. That's my 3 bets. Jesse Williams in that order: Andres, followed by Alex, followed by Jesse Williams. That's my guess.
I love having access to stats. It is very nice and it is good. And by the way, next bro, I'm going to say it again for maybe the 40th podcast in a row. Please fix your data. I want XG and I want XA.
Yeah, you're like so close to doing cool shit.
Toley's on 4. Milo's on 3. Andres is on 3. Carlos is on 2.
Milos is a good shout.
Jude only has 1 yellow card?
Doug, Jude's not getting in trouble.
He really only has 1? Alex only has 1. That may be the most surprising thing.
Don't worry.
Anyway, that's fun. So, based on this list alone, Toley, Milo, and Andres.
The recycling just got picked up, which is why the dogs were freaking out. They did not like the recycling truck. Matthew, I know the answer to this, and you know the answer to this, and I'm glad somebody asked us, because I think that this is a fun thing.
I didn't know this was going on, by the way.
I only knew because somebody told me it was going on. I didn't see it. But, same shit, different league. Why was Carolina's backup keeper so worried about Section 109? From Victor. That's because it was Senor Sutton, Alex Sutton, from the Maryland Bobcats, who is used to losing to CFC and is still definitely tired of it. And it's the same shit, different league. Also, he got a few minutes. Remember when we were guessing how many players would make it from NASN MLS Next Pro?
Outside of our team?
Yeah. Remember when we were doing that? Alex Sutton makes sense now that I think back on it because he was genuinely pretty good. But also it's a little surprising. But other thing that in this league I think a lot of teams are doing is going a little bit older. He's not old, but a little bit more experienced with their goalkeepers. But yeah, he is just used to losing against CFC, and I think people were in his head. If I would have seen or known about this, I got told about this towards the end of the game or after the game, I would have loved to go down there and tell him about what a failure he is. But I didn't get a chance to, because I didn't know.
Yeah, I still don't really know. The podcast question was the first time I learned about this. But yeah, you'd think a guy that it's has made multiple trips now to Finley Stadium would have figured out how to tune it out.
He's never been on the bench for it though.
No, and being on the bench is different.
It's loud.
It is different.
Okay, Matthew, I have a question for you, and I know this happens to tie into one of your takeaways. Do you think Medi is starting to feel frustration, whether it's from a lack of service, a lack of calls, or another factor, if at all? He seems to be doing, all caps, a lot of work, and I feel like I'm seeing facial and arm frustrations being shown mid-game. From Brian.
Read the other one too.
Second one, what do you guys think of our number 9, Medi? Feels like he just can't finish. Or do you think he is just being played to take defenders away and let others score? And that's from Albert.
Oh, okay, as we manage the dogs here. So, yeah, this is interesting because I've seen now these two questions come up. I've seen
different versions of this.
I've seen rumblings of this. And on its face, I understand where you're coming from. This is a guy we brought in to be our number 9.
Our number 9, the last 2 seasons, scored the majority of the goals.
Yeah, our club leading...
all-time leading scorer.
Did not come back.
By the way, massive fucking shoes to fill.
So I get it, right? Only 1 goal in 7 games. 5 of them are starts. Yeah, 5 of them are starts. So I get it. Here's what I'm going to say. Number 1, he's got 2 assists. Number 2, he's got a hockey assist. He earned a penalty against Huntsville. That was converted. Number 3, think about the amount of work that Medi does in build-up. I think one thing that's critical about this team is that everyone has to be available to be a part of the build-up. That includes the number 9. We are not leaving that number 9 up there to just hang out and fix his hair and get, just wait for the ball to come to him. The number 9's got to drop in to be an option in build-up, to be an option on the ground, in the air. They've got to be able to run in behind if there's space to run into the channel. And that is not a job for just anyone. And Medi seems to be uniquely suited to do that type of job as the 9. And I'm just going to guess that's probably what they saw on tape and why he's here, right?
He does literally fucking everything except so far for score.
So I'll also note that he gets into incredibly good positions. And not just his build-up in terms of earning a foul, but his ability to turn when he's not fouled and to kind of keep play going beyond just a recycle, to turn a build-up situation into, a danger adjacent situation that if, you get another good ball in there, it becomes actually dangerous. He's had a couple headers just go wide. He's had a couple headers go over the bar. He's had a couple, great turns and shots that for whatever reason, a little unlucky or whatever it is. If you are trying to make a conclusion about Mehdi after 7 games, and it's purely based on his goal production, right? And like goal scoring, just 1 goal, I think you're doing him a disservice. Because let's also remember what the circumstances are. Take out like all the good build-up play, all the good in getting into positions, all the good pressing work, which has helped this team turn over the opposition and score from, one of which was his.
And he should have another couple assists as well.
He should have another couple assists as well. Think about the position that he is in. He signed at the beginning of February. He does not arrive into the United States until the first week of March. He then goes through the medical process and is officially cleared to join training for the first time 2 days before the season opener. Mm-hmm. The starting striker that day was Ethan Corrin. So he gets subbed in for 15 minutes plus 10 minutes of stoppage time after having, a couple days of training. You then throw him into the Open Cup, get him about 30 minutes in that one. He then plays 75 against FC Cincinnati 2, and then plays another like 75 or so against New York City. These are all games on short rest, which means there's not a lot of time for training.
And without a preseason.
And there's not a lot of time for just like settling into a routine. This is a guy who has never played in the United States before. I don't know if he had been to the United States before until he got here. I don't know that. English is not his first language. He's got some. I don't know how much he's got, but he's got some. But anytime you have a player, this is the thing that we didn't really have to worry about a lot the last few years because of the no visas thing. There's always an adjustment process for foreign players, especially foreign players that don't have English as their native language, right? All that stuff off the field does impact what happens on the field. Plus the lack of preseason, plus the lack of training time. Okay, now you get second preseason. He comes out against Inter Miami. No, he doesn't score, but he's got 2 assists. He did a yeoman's job against Huntsville. Is not rewarded with a goal and assist in that game. I thought he helped us change the game against Atlanta United too. Okay, we don't score any goals that day. And then he's back in the starting lineup against Carolina Core, and I thought he was very good and got very targeted by 2 extremely big, imposing center backs.
Carolina Core
also created a lot of space. Also, his pressing helps create 2 big chances in the first 10 minutes, one of which we scored on. Don't judge a 9. I realize that 9s get judged by goals, and they should to a degree. But if you discount everything else, you are missing, I think, what this team is trying to do, which is to not create a singular focal point in attack, but to create a team that creates goals and scores goals in a variety of different ways.
I will also add
that can, on any given night, if you take away our number 1 threat, okay, cool, no problem. That's the type of team that can win a championship. And I think if you rush to judgment about a 4 and 9 early in the process, then you run the risk of being, I'm going to go here, like one of those like kind of dumb English fans that rushes the judgment when a big player from wherever doesn't immediately measure up.
Okay. Well,
in like certain statistical columns.
There's no need to call our fans. No need to compare them with the worst fans in the world. But I will also say, like, these are the biggest piece of this that I think you touched on, but I want to emphasize is these are really, really big shoes to fill. He's filling the shoes of CFC's all-time leading scorer, and those were going to be really, really hard to fill no matter what, and especially on the score sheet. So, I think he's done. I agree with you. He's done everything except for score, including providing goals and providing things that have led to goals. So, I'm happy about it. I'm bullish on the rest of the season. I think he's just been a little unlucky and maybe even lacking sharpness in the final third so far. But I think it'll come around. Referees. I was hoping by leaving NISA we would get better refs. Is that just us, or are all lower league refs bad and make bad calls? Another question from Albert.
Yes, they're all bad. They all make bad calls. It's not that they're all bad. Refereeing in this country is one of the hardest things to do, because to be really good at it, it's hard to just like start doing it when you're 25 years old and work your way up the system. So a lot of people like get into it to make a little extra money when you're a teenager. And a lot of people stop doing it when you're a teenager because you're getting abused by parents of 9-year-olds, which isn't fun.
Yeah.
We see this happen with literally every sport in this country. There are ref shortages of some kind. So it's not surprising that you look at fans around MLS. They're frustrated by the refereeing, right? You look at fans in USL Championship. They're frustrated by the refereeing, think it's like lower quality than at least the league. We felt that for a long time here at CFC. As a fan, I'm not speaking for the club. This is normal. Like, the standard of refereeing is below the standard of play. And that is it, whether you're D1, D2, D3, whatever, amateur leagues. That's just reality. And I've actually found it like to be a little bit better now that we have access to Pro 2 versus just like whatever the state assigner sent us. Do they make bad calls? Do I think? Yes, it's gonna happen a lot. You hope it doesn't impact a game, like truly impact a result, but that's part of it. You know, our refs don't have access to VAR. Is that a good thing? Probably, honestly. Like, you know, maybe it's just like me trying to get older and be a little bit more zen-like about this. But like, yeah, the refs are going to suck. Yes, they're going to make some bad calls. Yes, they're going to, you know, when they come to Finley Stadium, my biggest worry is that they're going to be influenced, and not like that we're going to get home cooking out of it, that they're going to try to prevent themselves from giving home cooking to the point they swing the other way.
Hey, I'd like some home cooking.
I think we've experienced that a lot more than we've experienced home cooking in the past. And I think part of that is the experience that CFC fans provide, and the Chattahooligans and whatever, is it's just uniquely different than a lot of other places. Even that Pro 2, which does NWSL, USL League One, USL Championship, and MLS Next Pro, it's a unique experience, even for other professional teams, stadiums, locations. And ironically, we may need more teams and more better atmospheres around the country, so that effect gets minimized. But like, they've not been actually that bad this year.
So yeah, I'll take it a little differently than you. I agree with obviously all of that. We have had better refs. Are they good enough? Not necessarily, but like, they're clearly a step above what we got in NISA in my eyes. You look at the Miami United game, and you look at the Atlanta away game. Those are the two worst refereed games, in my opinion, so far this season. The refereeing was really poor in that Atlanta United game. It didn't cost us the game. We didn't play well enough, but like, it was really poor. And Miami United was a NISA referee. Like, it literally was a NISA referee. It was somebody who refs NISA games. It was not the other pool that we're now pulling from. I think there's been a marked step up. Is it far enough? No. But like, I am thrilled there's been a step up. And in MLS Next Pro, because of the different rules that they have about substitutions, about time wasting. I mean, you saw Jesus get a yellow card for kicking the ball literally 1 yard away. And I've watched it happen in a bunch of the 90 and 15s as well. It is just different how they're refereeing, and overall, the quality, in my opinion, has been higher. Does it have a long way to go? Yes. Do I agree with you that it is the thing the furthest down the totem pole? Yeah, I've said that before. And in this country, the referees are further behind than anything. But I think we have seen a step up. and I'm happy about that. And I'm also happy that we are a good enough team that we don't have to depend on the referee. There was a couple years ago when the final year of Peter Fuller, where we didn't have the roster to compete a lot of times, and we needed the referee to not be bad. We really needed the referee to be good and maybe even give us a call every now and then. And now it's been several seasons we haven't needed that. And that's, do we get screwed by the referee every now and then? Sure. But like we're in a much better spot.
I also tend to think that the Pro 2 thing has really, I'm not going to say it's benefited us per se, but I think refs that are getting regular Next Pro games versus NISA games and amateur games and maybe the occasional League One game, for example, we're seeing referees call games differently. I think number one, they're just better, but number two, they're more. Next Pro plays football. Like they're out here actually playing football.
It's called soccer.
League One is for football terrorists. There is no football being played there. And when you get games where there's 60% passing completion, or maybe we'll say 70% and be generous, like average across the teams, the game's going back and forth. It's physical. It's athletic. There's a lot of nuance to, like, is that a foul? Is that not a foul? Is that a clean challenge? Well, he stabbed him in the back, but also got a little bit of the ball. Like, we'll let that go. There's a lot less of that in Next Pro, just based on like how the teams by and large want to play.
I don't think you've watched enough 90 and 15s. There's some actual stabbings. There's some dudes going cleats up from behind. There's some bad challenges.
But like
it's just not the Michigan Stars every week.
It's just not the Michigan Stars every week, and it's not.
And the time wasting thing is really, really different. Matthew, I need to move us along here because we have 17 minutes left on this memory card.
Cool.
Until we run out.
Awesome.
So I want you to ask me the next question.
Have you ever felt more secure in a center back pairing than with Anatoly and Duvan Viafara? That's from Zach Taylor.
Yes. 2016, if I'm being honest.
Okay, way to go back there.
We allowed 3 goals in the entire regular season. Like, it was unbelievable. And one of those was a goalkeeper error where it just like slid through Greg Hartley's legs or through his hands. Like, we essentially allowed 2 goals. And I'm just being honest. And then last season's goal, look, Anatoly has been a big step up from last season, and Duvan, I believe, will be a big step up in the end. Fucking Aiden Bowers was unbelievable. And Anatoly and Aiden as a center back partnership were unfucking believable last year. And yeah, that is still currently better than this year. As far as my comfort level, do I think we're more talented? Yes. Do I think we'll get to a higher level? Yes. But
yeah, I'll just remind, we gave up 12 goals in 24 league matches last year, which is a half goal per game. We've given up 6 and 7 matches. So
yep.
Even without going like down the XG rabbit hole, like
and the more talented league and all the other things. But yes, Matthew, and let's both do this and let's try to do this quickly, because again, very little time left. What is your preferred starting 11 so far, assuming no injuries? Are we taking form into account? Let's take form into account. Let's say, who do you want to see in the next game? Let's just do it that way. That makes it a little easier. And so we're not going like where we think ceilings are.
Okay.
Who's playing well right now? Sorry, Zach, I'm taking... This is several... Zach Taylor was the last question. This is Zach again on this one.
So I think I'm going to... Okay. I think I'm going to take Gene in goal. I'm taking Duvan and Tolley. No problem. We are... Next game will be our 8th game in the regular season, which I'm going to take into account because it's still early. So I'm going to say Jesse Williams at right back, even though I think Milo's been great there, and I think JP's been really good at left back. Because I like... We've made that sub a couple times now, and I like having that sub option available to us. No, actually, I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna go Milo at right back. I'm gonna go JP at left back.
We're gonna have the goddamn same lineup.
I'm gonna take Jude at the 6. I'm gonna pair Jude with Andres right now. Do I think there's a long-term world where Jude becomes a lone 6? Yes. I don't think we're there yet. I think,
like I said, next game.
Yeah, next game. Yeah, so Jude and Andres at the 6. I'm taking Alex McGrath at the 10. I'm taking Jesus and Taylor. Although I want to see Jalen get an extended run for one of them on Saturday. Not like a 60-minute run. I'm saying Taylor and Jesus are starting. But I want to see Jalen for 25, 30 minutes on Saturday. Mostly to make sure that he's still alive. Because I really do. I know that he subbed in and ran around for 5 minutes in stoppage time, but I was concerned watching him go off the field. Medi up top, obviously. I think that lineup allows some flexibility because you've got Garcia Sosa as an option off the bench. You've got Callum Watson off the bench. Jalen is an option there. And obviously, like, you can bring in Jesse. You can do some things with that group. I really hope that Minjay's not has not like really hurt himself from that injury in training, because I think he provides just something different, whether it's at outside back or as a winger. His winger profile is really good. But I think I'm going to go with that. I think I'm going to go with that group. Which I think is your group, actually.
I'm going with the exact same group, except I'm going Jalen for Jesus. I'm cool with either Jean or John starting. They've both played great, but I'll go with Jean because he was in last game. But yeah, I don't. Aside from the goalkeeper, we have the where I don't care. It's a toss up for me. I go with the exact same group across, and I go with Jalen instead of Jesus. But yeah, that's for next game, not necessarily who I think is going to be for the whole rest of the season. I'm going to skip the next one. Sorry. I'm going to skip the next one because we don't have time.
No, let me just go quick.
Dude, you better go fast. We have like 13 minutes left, and you have all the key takeaways and more questions here. And I know you.
You actually did really get rid of them, though. So now I don't have them. The biggest surprise for me is that we've been able to accumulate this many points, given all the factors. I thought that we could get to a 2 points per game cadence at some point during the season. But I did not think it would be this early. And so like the way we started the season has been really, really awesome, but a little surprising too. The Indy 11 question. So for those that don't know, Indy 11 had a stadium deal with the city of Indianapolis for a 20,000 seat stadium in downtown Indianapolis. The mayor of Indianapolis has pulled his support and has announced plans to pursue an MLS franchise, and focus on the city money or the state money or whatever for that particular thing. That does apparently not include Indy 11. There is so much nuance for that situation that we don't have time to go into it. But the question was glib satisfaction or disgust at the Indy 11 situation. So I'll just say this. USL is bad. They do bad things for soccer.
They tried to kill us.
And for that, they deserve to die the fieriest of deaths. But it is not okay to try to kill your local soccer team in pursuit of something else. It's just not. It's not okay. It's bad. Just because they did it to us does not mean it's cool for it to happen to them. Just because USL did something really awful does not mean that one of their teams deserves it too. That our system ties those together is a problem with our system. But like, I feel for the fans in Indy that are staring down the barrel of their club potentially having a rough go. That sucks for them. I've been there. I know what it's like. Are they going to hate the mayor? Are they going to hate MLS? That's their right to do so. Just like it's my right to hate USL.
I hate them.
I want to drown the league with my bare hands.
I hate MLS, but here we are. Okay. So sorry if this has been asked before. I don't have time to go into the Indy 11 thing, so that's why I was trying to leave it to another day because I've got thoughts and takes, but we don't have time. So sorry if this has been asked before. My brother and I are new listeners. Shout out. Thank you, Blake. And wanted to know what's going on with Marcus. We saw him at the opening game, but wondered why he isn't playing. Would love to see him on the coaching staff if he has retired. From Blake.
Well, the simple answer is he's not He isn't playing because he's not signed. He's not on the team. There's a longer answer there, but he still lives here, and he's going to live here until he gets another contract. And for whatever reason, he doesn't have one here or elsewhere yet. That's short, and it's not exactly helpful, but like that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I think we all would have liked to see CFC's all-time leading scorer and one of my favorite humans in CFC history on the team, right? Like we would have liked to seen it work out. But the coaching staff made the decision to go with a different type of player and especially a different age profile in a new league that skews much, much younger. So there's a million other things that go into that, but they chose not to re-sign him or they didn't come to terms. I don't know if there was an offer out there or not. I suspect that there wasn't. But if there was, it wasn't to Marcus' satisfaction, and they did not re-sign him. So, do I think he could be useful right now? For sure. But like also, we've chosen to go this way, and hopefully wherever he lands, it will be smoothly and softly and for a literal bag of cash because he deserves it. Matthew, what's something food related you don't have access to in Hamilton County? Shout out Victor for using Hamilton County, not Chattanooga, that you wished you did. And I'm going to break Victor's heart. I'm sorry, Vic. I'm not doing this on purpose. But it's just my real answer.
I don't really know if there's much that we don't have access to.
I want an Argentinian steakhouse.
I think an Argentinian, that'd be fucking awesome, actually. I think I'd like some better, more regular, more reliable, cheaper seafood options as well.
Ew.
But like now, like you did the Argentina thing, man, I just want to surf and turf right now.
That does sound lovely.
Let's move on to our takeaways.
All right, Matthew, you got to do yours fast, and you got to leave some time for me.
I'm only doing two because Medi was my third one. So thanks for the listener questions. We knocked that one out of the way. My first takeaway is, look, our first loss of the season against Atlanta United 2 in Kennesaw. You're allowed to be disappointed about that. You're allowed to. That's totally fine.
I'm glad you're allowing me to.
That I will note though, on the week as a whole, that's 6 out of 9 points. That's really good. We're on the top of the Eastern Conference right now. 25%
where we fucking belong.
25% of the regular season played. Like, don't get so upset from one performance that wasn't great midweek on short rest that you lose sight of the bigger picture here, because the bigger picture is what matters. Yeah, and I'll just note, like, the top team in the Eastern Conference last year was Crown Legacy. They lost 4 times. I think losing once a quarter is probably fine.
Considering we don't play 4 quarters, yeah, for sure.
What I like to
quarters of the season, I got it.
What I like to lose, never, obviously, yes,
especially to fucking Atlanta.
But like it happens. Like, teams are gonna lose games. We're not so much better than everybody that like you lose twice and it's like, wow, each time it's crazy.
Yet,
like one day. So, don't worry about it. Number 2, Anatoly is emerging as this team's quarterback with the ball. So he didn't get a yellow card against Carolina Core. He won 7 of his 8 duels, 64% with his long passing, and then 91% passing overall. And it's not just like, yes, there's a lot of balls he's playing square to Duvan or playing out to Jesse or whatever, but he's also playing, he's splitting lines. He's finding Medi at times, or finding the 10s. This is a different Tolley than we saw last year. That was your point. His
not one of my 3 key takeaways, but I could not agree more.
His play with the ball has been really, really good, and it's allowed us to get the ball into better positions this year, especially for this time of year than a lot of what we were doing last year, and that's allowed us to get the ball into more higher leverage positions with our skill players to create shots and ultimately goals.
My first one is this seems to be my first one just about every week. Trust the Rodcess. I know I say it every time, but you can see the progression, and it's not always linear. It's not always up and to the right on the hockey stick graph. Sometimes there's going to be blips and downturns. If you remember last year, if you remember the year before, especially under Rod Underwood, Rod is a coach that makes the team and makes the sum of their parts more than the sum of their parts, right? Puts all the parts together, and it's not just like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals, that number. You can get more out of that. That is my belief. That is what we've seen from Rod Underwood in his career here and at Stumptown. Just trust that it will continue. We will continue improving and we will continue moving forward, but the progress won't always be linear. Yes, it sucked to lose to Atlanta, as you pointed out. Lose to Kennesaw. And we also got right back on the wagon and played against Core, and we played well. I think this is not the end of the road. This is only the beginning. We're through the first quarter, and let's trust the Rodcess that is going to continue to go. And there's a reason we do "In Rod We Trust" as our chant at the end of games. Every team in this league, number 2, has young attacking talent in particular, but attacking talent that can beat you. You need to be sharp and approach every game with the correct mentality. We saw the exact version of that in Atlanta play out. I mentioned it earlier, so I won't go. I won't belabor the point, but this league, unlike NISA that we played in, but just in general, has really high-level attackers, or at least attackers capable of a high-level moment on every single roster. And
honestly, every position.
And many, many positions. You got to be sharp, and you got to have the correct mentality, and I'd rather have that loss now than later, because hopefully it helps us correct and come out on that front foot on every game. My third point is that the spine is looking real fucking good. Tolley, Duvon, Jean and Jude, or Tolley, Duvon, Jean and Jude, and then adding Andres to that if we're going to play a 4-2-3-1 is a hell of a spine. Tolley's playing like a man possessed, and look, last game Jean-Antoine worked 2 absolute miracles. So Duvon, Jude, Andres cleaned up so much, and then Tolley is doing the Tolley things that we've talked about, and then obviously that last line of defense has been great all season. So the spine's they're going to continue being key to winning this league. With the young attacking talent we've talked about, with the trusting of the process by most of these teams, and playing what I would argue a little bit naively at times, we have the opportunity to pick up a lot of points, taking advantage of the experience and professionalism of our players, as well as their talent, and making sure that spine is what gets us point. It's, in basketball, you say, offense offense fills seats, defense wins games, and rebounds wins championships. Like, this spine is the version of rebounds. Like, if this spine stays together and stays and does, look, this was the first game I think you really saw it in the Core game, really saw it where we bent, but we did not break. They had a bunch of possession, they had a bunch of stuff, but it wasn't just bad luck that they didn't score. We made good plays to keep them from scoring. We closed things up. And with the young attacking talent in this league, that is going to be our difference maker. And obviously, we still got to go out and score goals. We got to create things, and we got to play well in the rest of the facets. But where we can differentiate ourselves is in that spine, and I'm really, really happy with the players and the type of play there. Matthew, what do you got left?
I'm done. I am fresh out. Saturday, we host Orlando City B.
The game is at 5 o'clock for anyone who didn't know. I think I had thought it was going to be at 7 o'clock, so it might have been Brian. Somebody posted, and shout out if it was you, Brian, in the Chattahooligan Slack, which, by the way, if you are not watching this on YouTube, we are on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that make us happy as podcasters. And then please let us know if you are a burgeoning Chattahooligan, if you want to be a Chattahooligan, if you're a longtime Chattahooligan, whoever you are, and you want to be in that Chattahooligan Slack. There's a lot of online talk in there.
Also, a lot of coordination of away days.
Big time coordination of away days, which I've seen a lot of you guys on away days. So shout out to those of you who might want to be in there. Please, shoot the pod a message, shoot Matthew a message, shoot me a message. Sorry if I'm not as much on social media as I should be. But we'll get you added to that Slack if you want to be in there. Again, coordination of away days, but also just, a little bit of community online that is away from the social medias. But thank you everybody for listening, and we will catch up with you very soon. Peace.